Earth, our home, incubator of life. Through our lines of life, we recover the knowledge hidden within our bodies and Earth herself, to raise our brothers and sisters to a new state of consciousness.
Peace, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I have to make this video because I've been seeing a lot of things floating on around the internet about this whole Nathan Phillips situation that happened on Friday after the Indigenous Peoples March. Now, if you don't even know what this situation is and you're just tuning in, there's been a lot of things going on around it and a lot of conversations going on around it. So I'm going to explain from somebody who, I wasn't fully there when it happened, but I was there about 10 minutes before. So I'm going to basically tell you kind of the sum of the day, what happened, and then kind of how I feel about the whole thing and some of the troubling things that I've been seeing online about this whole situation and everything going on about it, because there's a lot of lies being spread about this whole situation that a lot of people are not fully talking about the full situation, and they're lying on a lot of people and trying to say people are doing this and that and the other. So we're going to get down to the full facts and truth, because on this channel we talk about the truth, we talk about the facts, and we don't tell lies. So we out here telling truths, okay? All right. So Friday, if y'all don't know, there was something called the Indigenous Peoples March, and it was the first annual Indigenous Peoples March, and it was incredible. I unfortunately didn't come to the full thing. I was unable to attend the march, but I ended up coming to the rally, and I saw a lot of beautiful Indigenous people from all over the whole world come together and speak their piece about what's going on in their communities in terms of Indigenous atrocities and just their cultures in general, and how they really want to go back to the ways things were before colonization came and basically messed up all of our, values and systems and everything that we basically do as Indigenous people. After the colonizers came, everything just got screwed up, and we're really trying to go back to our ways, our matriarchal ways, the ways of the women, the ways that we eat, back to our traditional foods, traditional farming and traditional fishing practices, back to the way that we respect ourselves, back to the way we respect our women, just so many different things and practices that we did before colonization came and really messed us all up. You know what I mean? And I saw people from so-called Australia come, some Aboriginal people come from there. I saw a woman from the American Samoa. I saw a woman from Brazil who was Afro-Brazilian and Indigenous. I saw people from all over this country, Turtle Island, come, a lot of different Indigenous tribes from this country. It was a wide range of different Indigenous people who came to speak on the different issues that they're going and dealing with on a daily basis that are not being talked about mainstreamly. And one person, or a couple of people actually, that sparked my interest and really were talking that real game were Immortal Technique, the rapper, and also a rapper from Chicago whose name I actually don't know, but the story he told was really profound and actually was very much something that I've experienced in my own life growing up. He talked about how he's a very light-skinned person, right? And he talked about how he's very light-skinned, but he's black. And so his mom has light eyes and straight hair, but she's black. And so his mom really tried to instill the values of being a black person in him from a very early age, gave him a very black name and all of these sort. But then he realized that as he looked more into his history and more into his family, he realized he had an Indigenous grandmother. And so long story short, when he grew up, he went to one of the reservations in upstate New York, and he talked to the chief there. And the chief had to check the tribe because some tribes, like I've said many times on this channel, have a problem with anti-black racism. And so he had to talk to the chief, and the chief had to talk to the tribe about how that impacts the tribe and how, black people and Indigenous people can't get along because of those types of things. and it's a shame. So that really resonated with me a lot. And then Immortal Technique was just giving you those hard facts.
Y'all know me as Immortal Technique, some of you. I come from Peru, Tahuantinsuyu. I am the Condor, ladies and gentlemen. I am here to fly with you for a brief period of time. And I just wanted to say and point something very important out. Colonization isn't our history, ladies and gentlemen. Colonization interrupted our history, ladies and gentlemen. Colonization interrupted not only our history, but also our worldview and how we relate to things. We are surrounded by a world of modernity, and we have this impactful choice of whether to accept or reject, and that's not actually the choice that we need to make. What we need to make is the internal choice to reject what those influences are on our people, on our languages, on our society, on our relationship with our women, on our relationship with capitalism, on our relationship with everything that has made colonization possible. By the way, colonization is too nice of a word to describe the cultural genocide, forcible rape, and also, since we have people that are sitting here protesting abortion, let's point out the fact that you tried to abort our civilization. You tried to sterilize our women, and if you really want to talk about the destruction of children and the destruction of the family, you have no further to look than the indigenous communities that surround you all around here to get a living proof that we are survivors of an abortion that you attempted to push upon our people. And there's such thing as holy anger, ladies and gentlemen. If someone attacked your mother or your father, you have the right to be angry. You have the right to be defensive. You have the right to be upset. And I am way more than that. I am focused, I am determined, and I am also inspired to be here from Peru, a representative of Tahuantinsuyu, to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters from all around the world. What divides us, ladies and gentlemen, is a European language. Yo aprendí el español as a Latinized indigenous person as opposed to an Anglicanized native person, but yet we are connected by that spirit and by the profound belief that the earth doesn't belong to us like these people who are backwards think. No, we belong to the earth, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if I may share a brief poem with you, I also want to shout out my father who's in the crowd. Thank you very much, Coronel Chauca, for being here with me and for always giving me a sense of pride and understanding of my indigenous heritage, and always teaching me that as a quote-unquote Latino person, that is not where my roots are. My roots are in the indigenous people of the continent. Thank you very much. I will share a 2-minute poem and then I have to go, and I want to say thank you to everybody else, and I stand in humility to all the people that have come before me. Here it goes. Imagine the word of God without religious groupies. Imagine the Savior born in a Mexican hoopty, persecuted single mother in a modern manger. You'd crucify him again like a fucking stranger. Tears of the anger worth more than diamonds or rubies. Imagine being locked up since juvie. Imagine changing your life and still going out like Tukey. Imagine people talking shit when they never knew me. Imagine a movie that depicted the pain in your life, like them kids in Afghanistan chasing a kite. For most of the world, that's what it's like. Imagine if the person you're supposed to love for the rest of your life is set to marry someone else at the end of the night. They say you fight the greatest jihad in your heart and your mind, and fight the hardest when you start from behind. So I dream the impossible all the time. Fuck a Masonic design, America's future is mine. Repeat that to yourself, cause if our culture's a crime, them numbers tatted on your arm aren't too far behind. They can only conquer you after they murder your mind. So rise up, motherfucker, like the sign of the times. I feel my body weakening, but my spirit is fine, ready to go to war with devils at the drop of a dime, and fight with my rebel army until the stars are aligned. Cause Nostradamus was a white man's prophet who predicated European supremacist logic, because the pilgrims and the conquistador columns killed more innocent people than Hitler and Stalin. So I guess the fortune teller skipped an antichrist or two. Brother, give this to the OGs doing life with you, and pray for the problems with the Pope's psychology, so the Vatican will offer an apology. For what? For destroying the people's liberation theology, snatching the spirit of Jesus from people in poverty. Business decisions like keeping people in prison, but had the opposite effect, incarcerating religion. That type of crooked populace exposed on the populace is obvious if you read the Northwood documents. So fuck the compliments for what I've recorded, and please live for revolution instead of always dying for it.
But man, he was talking them hard facts. and he's from Peru, and he was speaking them words, those wisdoms. It was beautiful. I was here for it. I was like, yes, thank you. And just thank you to Immortal Technique really for keeping real hip-hop alive, like really talking about real stuff going on and not just being a fake poser who tries to be woke, which you know I don't like that word, but tries to be out here talking stuff and then behind the scenes just doing shady stuff. Like, that's not cute. But thank you to Immortal Technique for really keeping that real hip-hop alive. Okay, so all of that was happening. And that happened, so the march was from around 8 o'clock, they had a prayer, and then 9 o'clock they marched, and then from around 10 to 4, they had the actual rally where all the Indigenous people had time to speak on the issues that were going on in their communities and to raise awareness about them. It was a beautiful day. It was kind of chilly. It was cold because it had just snowed like the weekend before, 2 weekends before or whatever, and so it was chilly, but it wasn't super like freezing cold, and and then the sun came out, so it was kind of nice, and then didn't really start to get really cold until around 4 o'clock. And so around 4 o'clock was when, around 4:30 was when I left. I was only going to stay there for a couple hours, so I got there around 2. I stayed there for most of the ending of the rally, and then I left after we did a round dance together. And so I had left, I got on the metro, I went home, and whatever. The next day, I start to see videos and pictures of this elder who I had seen many countless times before, named Nathan. And his name was Nathan Phillips. And I had seen him around the community a lot because my parents, my mom especially, she had been a part of this, me and her, had been a part of this collective, this group called the Prayer Vigil for the Earth for 20 years. And he had come to that. He was just in the community a lot. And my mom knew him because he and his wife, who sadly passed away, is now in the spirit world with the Creator. They would put on these, they would build a teepee on the Washington Monument on Thanksgiving Day, and they would sit there and they would pray and they would sing and dance, and they would raise awareness for the Day of Mourning, which a lot of Indigenous tribes do instead of celebrating Thanksgiving, for the atrocities that were put upon us as Indigenous people during Thanksgiving and the whole myth about the whole thing. And I'm not going to get into it because you guys should look that up. Use your Googles. But, you know, all of that. And he also went to Standing Rock and was there and was a water protector there. And he's just a really awesome person who's been a part of the community for years and years and years. He fought in Vietnam, and he's a really amazing person, right? And so a lot of photos and videos came out of him and this young teenager basically standing in his way. Nathan is here, and he's standing there and he's drumming and he's singing the AIM song, which is the American Indian Movement song, which is a protest / like prayer song. And he's standing there and he's singing it, and he was already singing it because we were having the ending of the round dance, and then I left and went home. And so there are a few people that are still left on the site, which is the Lincoln Memorial. We had it, the rally part of Lincoln Memorial, and there were a few people that were still left out there. And so he was over there dancing and, you know, drumming and whatever. And then somehow, which I didn't know this information at first, so at first it just looks like somehow these young kids, these young teenagers, came over to Nathan and started to bother him. And when he tried to leave, this young boy stood in the way of Nathan so that he could not move. And so then Nathan just stood there and kept singing and drumming the whole time that he stood there until their chaperones came. But what's alarming is that behind him was his crowd of students who were only in DC for the March for Life, which is a abortion rally or whatever, those pro-lifers or whatever. And he was there for that, the little guy, and they're all wearing MAGA hats, the Make America Great Again hats, the Trump hats, right? So it's a group of teenagers behind Nathan, and they're egging on this little boy who's in front of Nathan, just standing there smirking. And he has this like very devilish, evil smirk on his face. And it's really, really sad. They wouldn't leave Nathan alone until their chaperone came to get them. And then Nathan was able to leave. That was the first part of the whole story. And so it went viral. People started to talk about Nathan and how this little smug little teenager in Make America Great Again hat was trying to intimidate Nathan, an American veteran, and also a Native American elder from the Omaha Nation. And he's a water protector, and he's just incredible. He's a really, really great guy. And he was actually, if you want to look it up, he was actually in the Skrillex featuring Damian Marley music video for Bun Dum or Dum Bum, I think, one of them. But basically he was in that music video, which is really powerful. You should go watch it. But he's a really great guy. Like, he doesn't mean harm to anybody, literally. He just wants peace on earth, like all of us really do. And you know, you can watch one of his interviews after it initially happened and he was interviewed. He talks about how they were chanting, build the wall, and then he talks about how as Indigenous people we never had walls, we never had jails, and it's just really sad to see these young people trying to say they're making America great again when they're not. And it's like, yeah, that's really sad. And so this whole story went viral. And a lot of celebrities and a lot of news outlets were starting to pick it up. And a lot of news outlets like CNN were starting to interview Indigenous people. They were starting to interview Nathan. They were starting to interview Chase Iron Eyes and a bunch of other people who were talking about this issue. And all this, you know, was going on. And then the next day, some more video footage came out of what was happening prior to what happened with Nathan and why all this started in the first place. So to go back and give you context on this whole thing, because a lot of people don't have context right now, and they're trying to say some things that aren't right because they don't have context of what's going on. So this all started. There were some, and this happens in DC all the time, literally. Like if you go anywhere in DC, really, all the major points of like the National Mall and anywhere that's crowded by a lot of people, tourism, whatever, you'll see these people. They're always around. I see them all the time when I go into DC, all the time. There were some brothers, some black brothers, who were standing near the Lincoln Memorial on the side. So the Indigenous Peoples March rally was happening over here to the left, and the black brothers were over on the right. And the black brothers were over there. They're from the House of Israel, which is basically the Hebrew Israelites, which is a small, super small, like really small, minute fraction of black people who preach the Bible from a very patriarchal way of thinking. And so basically they were over there, they were preaching stuff and whatever. They do that all the time, it's whatever. Then the white kids, the teenagers, and the MAGA hats come over. And you can watch this video. I'm not going to post it. You can watch the video. But basically, the black Hebrew Israelites are preaching and doing whatever. The MAGA hats come over. The black brothers start a conflict with the MAGA hats, right? Now, the MAGA hats just pretty much laugh it off, and then they start to hoop and holler and basically try and do some type of like whatever. They took off their shirts and they were acting all crazy, and it's like really cold outside, so they're just acting crazy, wearing sunglasses, trying to hide themselves. They were just acting crazy in their own right? And the Hebrew Israelites were over there, and they were speaking a bunch of pretty much BS, in my opinion, okay? And I feel some type of way about what they were saying, because they were talking about how, you know, because I started to get into it with the MAGA hats, and they were talking about how basically as Catholics, because these boys come from a Catholic high school, which I will add their information so that you can go and email/call the Catholic high school and tell them about these atrocities that are happening and why they need to be punished. But basically these Catholic boys with the MAGA hats on, they, you know, were basically blowing him off, And, you know, he was saying, yeah, and you guys, you pray to a God that allows, he said the F word for gay people, which I'm not going to say here because it's a slur, and I'm not a part of that community, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm not going to say it. But they said the F word, and they basically tried to, you know, and they said a bunch of like really like awful things about women, and just, they were saying some crazy things. So I'm not even in any way trying to support them, but that's not the point of the story I'm trying to create. So that happened, right? Nathan and another young brother who was with Nathan, Indigenous brother from Shawnee, from Oklahoma, who's really awesome. I actually got to meet him when I was in Standing Rock, and he was in this teepee with me, my mom, Maya Muna Youssef, the artist, and her mom. And we were in a teepee together, and they sang songs with us, and it was really beautiful. He told us some of the history of the Shawnee people, and it was really beautiful. He's a really awesome guy. He comes over. His name is, well, he's an indigenous hip hop artist. So his indigenous hip hop art, like his rap name, is Quiz IMC, I think. I'm gonna put all this information on the bottom of the screen. Anyways, so he comes over with Nathan. Nathan, you know, they're just over here trying to finish the round dance, trying to finish everything that's going on. Like, they're just trying to clean up and all the stuff from the march. And so I guess they saw from the corner of their eye like what was going on. So Nathan took it upon himself to go see what was going on and try to diffuse the situation, right? So he goes over to what's going on, and he tries to diffuse the situation with his drum and his singing, and he goes over to try to see what's going on. So then the MAGA wearing boys come over to Nathan, and they're just taunting him. Like, they're just in a circle around him, just taunting him, saying things about totem poles, saying things about, you know, how we pray to the buffalo and totem poles, like ridiculous stuff, right? Talking about build the wall and all this BS. So they're over there doing that. And then eventually the little boy, who's, you know, everybody's seen by now, standing in front of Nathan, because Nathan tries to leave. Like, Nathan sees that this is a bigger situation than he meant to get into, so he tries to leave. He tries to make an exit. But the little boy, the little teenager, stands in front of Nathan and won't let him leave. And Nathan knows, because history repeats itself over and over and over again. Nathan knows that if he had tried to move in any sort of way, even touch the little boy, it would have been all over the news that he would have tried to do something. That he tried to do something to make some kind of conflict. Because you could tell that the group around Nathan was trying to start trouble and was trying to start a fight and was trying to make it go violent. And that was not what Nathan wanted. So he just stood there. He stood his ground. He stood there with his drum, and he sang, and that was really awesome. And then eventually the MAGA hats left. But during the time of when this was going on, the Hebrew Israelites are still standing there, right? They're standing in the background, right? And they're saying some pretty awful things about Indigenous people, and I do not condone that at all. I think it was really messed up and trash what they said. And they're saying things about how we pray and all these things, and now we, you know, and it's really ridiculous, right? Really ridiculous. What I don't like about this situation at all, and I'm Black and Indigenous, like I always say, I'm Black and Indigenous, so I have to look at things from two sides. I really do, because there's two sides to everything, and for me, it's Black and Indigenous, especially when it comes to certain issues like this. I've seen a lot of media outlets who at first were totally on board, because this is a hate crime and we all know it, totally on board talking about this situation because it had to do with a Native American veteran elder, and they were totally fine talking about how this little boy was disrespectful to this elder, which they should be, because we all need to be talking about this issue and why these little teenagers from a Catholic high school were out here being disrespectful to a Native American elder, to an Indigenous elder. That's wrong on so many levels. And the fact that you go to a Catholic high school is really wrong on its own, because, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody's religion, because I don't do that, to each their own, but you have to be real and you have to talk about the facts. okay? The Catholic freaking, the whole Catholic religion as a whole is very destructive. They are out here raping little boys. Pedophilia is very high in the Catholic community, especially around these popes, especially around these priests out here raping and being pedophiles to these little boys and even little girls. Who knows? They are, they did countless atrocities to both Native American people and black people back during slavery and during the boarding schools, and all the things that they did to my people. Really, really wrong. They made us convert to the Bible, even though we had no idea who Jesus was. We were out here praying to our Creator, and yet you came and took our way of thinking, made it illegal, put us in these boarding schools, put us through slavery, and made us read the Bible. And it's just, there's so many countless situations, even talking about the paper bowls, the Papa Bowls, which, if you don't know, is basically the Catholic Church's way of getting away with genocide, with getting away with slavery, with getting away with rape, and all the atrocities that they put upon my black and indigenous ancestors. And it's really, really ridiculous that nobody wants to talk about that, okay? Nobody wants to talk about that. 2, I do not agree with anything that those Hebrew Israelites were saying. I do not. I cannot. They were talking trash about women. They were talking trash about indigenous people. And they weren't trying to help the situation at all. They were just saying trash things for no reason. Yes, I am an African American person. Yes, those people are black. That doesn't mean I'm going to agree with what they said just because they're black. Now, do I think that they need to be demonized? No. And I see a lot of right-wing people, alt-right people, taking the narrative that these black people were out here taunting the little MAGA hat kids, and taking that whole situation and deflecting from the fact that that little boy stood in the way of Nathan leaving that situation like he wanted to, and standing in his way so that he could not leave that conflict. He wanted to leave. Nathan didn't want to stand there and do anything. Nathan was not out here trying to start anything. He saw a situation, he tried to diffuse it. He saw it got too big, he wanted to leave. That little boy would not let him. And if you're an indigenous person, a black person, or any person of color, you know how these situations end. If he had even tried to step, it would have been him against all these teenagers. And because they're white, except for that one little black boy who, that really bothers me that that black boy goes to that school. But that's another situation, another topic for another day. But majority white kids. And it doesn't matter if they're kids, it doesn't matter if they're adults, they're white. They're wearing MAGA hats. And the fact that they were out there, and if Nathan had even stepped the wrong way and even touched that little boy, even brushed up against him when he tried to leave, it would have been all, hell would have broke loose. And it would have been all blamed on Nathan. And that is not the situation. And that is not the story that should be told today. And there are a lot of right-wing, alt-right people out here spreading lies and saying things about indigenous people and black people that they don't even understand. Stop trying to talk about my people. Stop trying to talk about indigenous people. Stop trying to talk about black people. You don't even know anything about the situation. You weren't there, first of all. You don't know anything about the situation. You don't know who the Hebrew Israelites are. You don't know about indigenous people. You don't understand the situation. Stop trying to tell lies so you can cover up for this little boy. He was still in the wrong. That's an indigenous elder. That's an elder, period. Grow some respect. Grow some respect. You're a disrespectful little boy and you need to be taught manners. I don't care. I don't care. Okay? This whole situation is getting turned upside down because some additional footage came out. What happened before, yes, needs to be talked about. That's important. But the real issue here started when Nathan tried to leave and that little boy stood in his way. And all of his little cohort started cheering in the back, screaming, you know, build the wall, build that wall, and talking about how we pray to buffalo and totem poles. That's the problem. That's the issue. Okay? I'm not here for people trying to be out here and protect these white racists. And that's exactly what these kids were. I don't care if they're kids, they're still white racists. And the reason why this is such a big thing and why people are trying to hide these kids is because they're kids. But yet, when an indigenous kid, a black kid, a Mexican kid, or anybody from Central and South America, an immigrant from, you know, Africa or the Middle East, whenever they're looked at, they're not looked at as kids. They're looked at as terrorists. They're looked at as savages. They're looked at as too grown for their own good, so they can get killed, so they can get raped, so they can get, all these atrocities can happen to them. They can't be let into this country. Their DACA gets taken away. You want to build a wall so they can't be in this country. But yet these little white racists in MAGA hats, oh, they're just kids. Oh, they're just boys. No, no, I will not accept it. Yes, what the Hebrew Israelites were saying was very messed up. And I'm not here for it. But you're not gonna put this on black people. You're not going to put this on Nathan. You're not going to put this on indigenous people to deflect from the fact that these are little white racists. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And furthermore, for this little boy's mother to come out talking about, oh, it's the black Muslims, first of all, shows that you did not know what was going on, first of all. You didn't even know who these people were. You're trying to blame a whole community that isn't even a part of this, and I'm going to need you to stop. I'm going to need you to stop because you clearly don't have your facts straight. So I'm going to need you to calm down and chill out. Just stop it right now. You're not going to be out here doing that. You're not. You're not going to do it. Okay? I'm sick and tired of all these lies. I'm sick and tired of all this media attention 1 minute and then the whole story comes out and then you want to be, oh, sorry. Now I see what was going on. Now I see, oh, they were just little boys. I'm sorry. These big black men were trying to intimidate you. I'm so sorry. I should have looked at the whole picture before that. That sickens me. That sickens me on so many levels. This story comes down to the fact that a young teenage boy from a Catholic high school with a MAGA hat on stood in the way of an indigenous elder whose land you were on, and you had the right to stand in his way when he tried to leave a situation that was not benefiting him, and smirk in his face while your cohorts in the back yelled, build that wall, build that wall. It's ridiculous, and I'm not here for it, okay? I'm not here for it. I'm sick and tired of these narratives. I posted yesterday a video that the Indigenous Peoples Movement put out there about how after that all happened, and on Sunday they had their leadership meeting, because the Indigenous Peoples Movement, which I'm going to get into, is a movement of Indigenous people, and not just Native Americans from this country, but all over the globe, because all Indigenous people from all over the globe are going through the same things. We're going through the same atrocities that were put onto us by colonization. And that just doesn't mean just this country. That means Central and South America, Alaska, Hawaii, American Samoa, New Zealand, Australia, Asia, India, Africa, Canada, all of these places, even Europe to a degree with the indigenous people there. All of these places are going through atrocities because of colonization. And we're not talking about those issues enough. So they brought together a contingency to make it so that these issues are solved, so that these issues can be talked about, and a resolution can become something that is put out there, because we don't want to live in this world anymore. Okay? All of these racists, all of these people, all of these colonizers, your time is coming up. And we're done with you. And we're out here, and we're going to be fighting harder than ever. Because we're taking it back. We're taking it back. So just know, we are taking it back. But that's basically the whole landscape of the Indigenous peoples movement, is to bring together Indigenous people from all over the world to strategize, to basically tear down this colonized world and this mind state that we have in this day and age, and we've had for centuries because of colonization. So, you know, that was the whole point of this whole thing. And so they had their leadership meeting on Sunday, and they all got together and talked about, you know, different strategies and, you know, best practices and everything like that. So during that, they had Nathan come over and they gave him a proper honoring, which I thought was beautiful. So I posted it on my social media. I got this comment from this clearly an alt-right, clearly a white racist, talking about how when Nathan did all of this stuff about how it was a lie, and that Nathan planned this, and that it was all staged, and blah, 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 and talking about the black people and all of this stuff. I just blocked him and deleted the comment, because I don't have time for white racist stuff in my life. But it's just stuff like that, you know what I mean? And it's just like these lies are being perpetuated out in the media that certain people are going to believe. And that's really sad. That's really sad. You know, if you're a real person, you would listen to the voices of the Indigenous people that were there. You listen to the voices of the people who were actually there, who actually saw what was going on, and not these news outlets that are lying to you. They're lying to you. Don't believe the mainstream media. It's not something that should be out here you should be believing, because they're most likely lying to you. You know, I don't believe in anything that Trump ever says, because he's a liar, rapist, fake fool. But one thing he has said that might be true is that fake news is out there, and it is. And it is. Mainstream media is pretty fake, okay? So if you're getting your news from mainstream media, you might want to question that, because it's not the way to go. Support independent news, who actually will be out here telling you the truth, even if it's hard to swallow. It's important, and you need to be out here listening to those people. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and talk about this, because I'm sick and tired of seeing lies everywhere, all over the internet about this situation, and from people who were not there, honestly. When it comes down to this situation, the only thing that really matters is that Nathan, an Indigenous elder who fought in Vietnam, who is Omaha, who is a water protector, who puts up a teepee on Thanksgiving, on day of mourning, and does singing and dancing and praying for the Indigenous ancestors who were raped and pillaged and all the things on Thanksgiving Day, who is just an upstanding man, who was taunted and intimidated by a teenager from a Catholic high school and all of his cronies with MAGA hats on, and stood in the way of him leaving a situation that was not beneficial to him, and stood there with a loud smirk on his face while they taunted, build that wall, you pray to buffalo and totem poles. The whole situation is about how we need to be talking about how teenagers are being brought up in today's society by racists in the home, who have no manners, clearly, who are very disrespectful, who don't know that you don't talk, you don't do things like that to your elders, you respect your elders, and who are just out here perpetuating stereotype after stereotype. And it's really sad. So I'm going to be posting, you're going to see it in the next slide, the information about these guys, where they come from, the Catholic high school, and you guys are going to go and email and call, and we're going to get these kids suspended, and we're going to have real consequences happen, because I'm sick and tired of seeing people being babied for being racist. It's not cute, it's not cool, and I'm not here for it. So I don't agree with what the Hebrew Israelites said, but they're still black. But this issue has really nothing to do with them as much as it has to do with Nathan and the hero that he is, and getting to the bottom of these racists, and really just making them have consequences, and really just the conversation that we need to have about how we teach our children at home, because we all know that racism does not start. Yes, you can find racism out in society that your parents don't teach you, but 9 times out of 10, when you're a little kid, a really little kid, you're not going out in society and hearing racism. You're not inherently racist, but your parents are teaching you how to be racist, and his parents were definitely teaching him how to be racist. So I'm done ranting about this, but I just wanted to come out here and talk about this because a lot of things were getting misinterpreted, a lot of things were getting mistalked about, and I'm not here for it. So really, all I really want out of this whole situation is love and peace, like I always do. So if you're not out here spreading love and peace, then kick rocks, because I'm not here for it. So Nathan, you are a true hero. You are a true person of dignity, and I respect you and everything that you had to go through, and I'm sorry for that. And we really need to hold these boys accountable. We really need to hold these boys accountable. And to all of these people out here lying, stop it. Stop lying. You don't know the situation. Stop lying. All right. Till next time, peace and blessings.